Right, now that I have recaffeinated. So, in theory, you need both significance and integrity. In reality, lots of properties have more of one and less of the other. So here's an example. Carl's here in Fredericksburg has pretty much incredible, perfect integrity. It basically has not been touched since it's been built. All of it is original, including the machines that they use inside to make the ice cream. Frozen custard. Regardless, this building has incredible integrity. In terms of significance, I mean, is it that significant? Well, I mean, no, it isn't. It's in great shape, but there's lots and lots and lots of examples of really good roadside architecture from the mid-century all around the United States. This is a good example, but that's all it is a good example. Nonetheless, because it has very, very good integrity, it is listed on the National Register. And also, you should go there. It's delicious, and it's about to close for the season. So, yeah. At the other end of the spectrum, you find places that have really high significance, important significance, but are very light on their integrity. So one of them is the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, which is very cool. I've climbed to the top. It's awesome, but it's also been moved, right? So literally they moved the whole thing pretty significantly. So it does not have integrity of location or setting or anything regarding where it's located. Is just entirely gone. Now, of course, they had to do that, or it was going to fall into the water and not survive. And also, it's an incredible and very rare example of a lighthouse. So yeah, it's listed, even though it entirely lacks some of the integrities. Another example is Montpelier, which was owned by the DuPont family for a long time, and they did a lot to it. You should see pictures of it for a while, and it has been, quote, brought back to what it was historically. But I mean, okay, I would say a lot of it is conjecture. I mean, they tried to document it as well as they could, but fundamentally, this is like only a couple steps away from a reconstruction. So yeah, they're both places that are very significant, national significance, but they're only, their integrity is kind of meh. Okay, their integrity is just bad. So the reality is, for most properties, it's going to be a balance, right? The more significant it is, the less integrity it needs to have. The less significant it is, the more integrity it needs to have. And in the end, honestly, again, this is a deeply political process. If people do not want a property listed, especially the property owner, but really, if anyone of, let's say, importance does not want a property listed, it's gonna probably not be listed. Because this is a process that is in the political sphere, fundamentally. Furthermore, if you're defining all of this by significance and integrity, what gets left out? Because a lot gets left out. And that is something we're going to talk about when we meet on Tuesday. I really want you to think about this, right? What gets left out from the equation if you're doing it this way? And if any of you were at the book prize lecture Thursday evening, you will already know at least some of the answers to this. That lots and lots of stuff does get left out, and if you define it by significance plus integrity, you are actually making decisions right there that are stating very clearly what is significant and what isn't. All right, so the other question that we will discuss more at length on Tuesday is, why is the National Register like this? I mean, it's not a great process. In fact, if you talk to most preservationists, if not all preservationists, they will complain vociferously about the NR process and why it's just so bad. And so I want you to think about why it's like this. But again, I'm going to give you a couple spoilers. I mean, one spoiler is it's a legal document. I mean, and that's the main part of it, right? Because it's a legal document, It's going to be it's going to have some limitations in terms of language, because you have to set precedent, and that is going to be problematic. The other issue is that all of this derives from the Historic Preservation Act of 1966. And 1966 was, I guess in some sense not that far away, but it was a long time ago. Lots of things have changed since then. But yet the rules that we base all of this on really haven't. The framework was established at that time and really has not changed. And I would say that many people in the preservation profession really think that it might be time for a rethink. Although then the question is, what kind of impacts would that have on the profession as a whole? And honestly, the impacts would be very, very grave. No question about it. Very serious. So again, we will talk about this more on Tuesday and later in the semester, but I do want you to think about it. So let's talk about the resources that I'm going to want you to take a look at. I have posted the important stuff, the most important stuff on Canvas. I just took it directly from the National Register NPS site, so I did not rename them. I didn't do anything to them. I just posted them on Canvas. But you should also look at the National Park Service site. In fact, please do go to the National Park Service site and take a look. And what you'll notice is it's awful. It's just absolutely awful. Very opaque. Trying to find answers to anything is very, very hard. And that's part of my critique. So I do want you to look around and see what you find. I also want you to go on the internet and find National Register nominations, especially for districts. Just Google them in the state of your choice or the area of your choice and take a look and try to read them. Now, it's going to be very boring. I'm warning you in advance. Very boring, very dry. But I want you to take a look and kind of see what's expected, see what the standard is. Because, I can talk to you about these all day and night, but fundamentally, until you read them, until you familiarize yourself with them, you're not really going to learn. So I do expect you to take a look at those by Tuesday. It'll take you 20 minutes, and then you'll get really bored and stop. But try to find some, especially for districts. Just Google, National Register nomination, district, and like a location. You should be able to find stuff. The form you are using for this assignment is Form 10900. There are two other forms that you could choose, Form 10900A and 10900B. There's also the Form 10900 continuation sheet. Do not use those. I repeat, do not use those. Only Form 10900. I've posted it on Canvas. That is the only form you need to use. It is in Word format, so at least the format is easy to deal with. The National Register Bulletin 16A is your main resource for your directions. So this bulletin, as far as I know, has not changed since like the 80s. It's quite old, but it's all in there. So all of the information that you need is either in Bulletin 16A or in some of the white papers that have updated instructions for maps and photos and that kind of stuff. And I've posted most of those on Canvas already. I will, of course, discuss all of this stuff with you as we progress through the NR process. So don't worry. I don't expect you to go find, whatever the new guidance is on maps. I know where it is, and I will teach you how to do them. But the point here is that the NPS is severely underfunded, and so they really don't update this stuff, like barely at all. So a lot of the rules that you will find are extremely outdated. For instance, the rules in Bulletin 16A, I think, still list photos as black and white on cotton rag paper, which of course you're not doing. We're doing it entirely digitally. Anyway, so keep an eye out for the updates that I will mention in my instructions to you later on in the semester. Finally, let's talk about the NR form. The first thing I want to note is I will allow you to complain about it and how opaque and awful it is. But to be clear, you are so lucky. It used to be a gajillion times worse. When I filled my first NR nomination in the year 2000, okay, so not that long ago, in the year 2000, I had to do it on a typewriter. I repeat, I had to do it on a typewriter Back then, you had to get the cotton rag form from the local SHPO, which, by the way, you had to send for, and then complete it on a typewriter. Now, if, God forbid, you made an error on the typewriter, which of course had to use archivally stable ink, then you had to throw out that entire page and start again, because whiteout is not archivally stable. So it was very, very challenging. Plus, you had to get your photos in 8x10, black and white, archivally stable, ink on archivally stable paper, which cost a freaking fortune, especially for students. It used to be so much worse, you guys. Now, at least, it's a single word document. It is a lot easier to deal with. You do not need to type on a typewriter. You do not need to spend ungodly amounts of money on getting nice photo prints. So that's nice. Still, it's, only like basically a step above filing for taxes. This is not a fun process, but it is an important process and one you definitely need to learn. There are lots of sections in the NR form. Take your time and be methodical as you fill them out. Some of these sections you should not touch at all, right? They'll say for SHPO use only. So obviously don't fill those out. There are other sections where it's just, check the box that applies or fill in the blank. And when that happens, you want to refer back to Bulletin 16A, find the exact wording, the exact language, and the exact capitalization in that form, in that bulletin, and then apply it to the form. So if something is all caps, you write it in all caps. If something has no caps, you write it in no caps, etc. And then the main body of the National Register nomination is section 7, 8, 9, 10, and the photos and photo log. And that's really what we're going to focus on at length for the rest of the semester. So section 7 is the description, so what is actually there. This also, of course, includes the integrity, or I should say the 7 integrities. Section 8 is significance, right? What criteria is it significant under and why? Section 9 is the bibliography. Section 10 is the geographical data. This is going to include a USGS map, sketch map, lat-long, etc. So we'll talk about that at length. And finally, photos and photo log, which of course have to be done in a very particular way for the National Register. I will teach you how to do all of these things one by one. I believe we're going to start with geography and photos next week. But the big thing here is to just be aware of what the numbers are, right? Again, 7 is description, 8 is significance, 9 is bibliography, 10 is geographical data, because I'm often going to talk about section whatever. And just fill this in methodically, little by little. If you do it that way, honestly, all it is filling a form. So yes, it's a very long form. There's a lot of, bits and pieces involved, but none of it is really hard, especially because I want you to remember you've already done almost all the work collecting it for the CRS report. So really all you're doing for a National Register nomination is kind of reformatting the same information for a very different audience. Right? That's really the main thing that you're doing. Yes, you're going to collect a little bit more stuff, but mainly you're just going to change format. So that's it. We're going to talk more at length about all this on Tuesday. Again, for Tuesday, think about what gets left out from National Register nominations. Think about why the National Register works the way it does, or rather doesn't work. And finally, don't forget to look for NR nominations and start really critiquing them. That'll really help when we start writing our own. All right, thanks you guys.